Hey guys, back with another Echoing Thoughts podcast here, episode number 23. And this podcast, we're going to talk a little bit about Damien, my thoughts, how close it is that we're actually going to clear, if anyone's going to clear. Um, we're going to talk about a little bit about rebalance, this past May update, who I think the biggest winners were after, a few weeks, almost 3 weeks going into it, post May patch, and then just talk about little things about the future, things that I'm working on, things that I'm excited for and look forward to and hope for in the June update. So let's kind of get into it. And first thing I want to talk about the cool thing. The best thing I saw this week was that Korean Maple Story is getting two new classes. They're getting Kana and Hayato. That's pretty sweet. That's kind of PC Maple Story, one of kind of those fun classes that back when I was playing, that it was pretty flashy. Hayatos were pretty sweet. Kanas were very obviously needed for that game to help with the spawn rate. I think it's changed a lot since then. So I'm curious to see how it's affected, how it plays in mobile. But that's pretty cool. I'm excited for, just hyped up for anniversary. I was talking to some friends about, when our anniversary is coming, July is going to have two updates like they usually do, one for anniversary, one just for the monthly one. So expect a lot of big thing, a lot of packages, a lot of upgrades, events, things like that. So really looking forward to that in the game. And yeah, let's just kind of start back in the May update. And my biggest winners now, there was kind of a lot of winners in my opinion, a lot of classes kind of that were honorable mention. I think Corsairs got an insane boost to damage. I think Corsairs, their lines. I saw someone say they with like 18 mil cap or something, and doing like 1.3 bill on Guild Dummy or something insane. Um, I think that as well, even like classes like Pathfinders, I was thinking, yeah, they didn't get any class specific buffs, but if things are trending in the right direction for what we're expecting, we're seeing a lot of changes that match what Korean Maple Story has, then Pathfinder's in a good place. I heard that they have a lot of lines difference based on global versus Korean Maple Story. So that's exciting. Just even though they didn't get it now or the last rebalance, if you're sticking with Pathfinder, I have a lot of respect for you. Not re-rolling to any other archer because the archers are doing really well besides Pathfinders. Pathfinders should expect a big rebalance, especially when people are kind of vouching for them, wanting them to get rebalances. I feel like their next rebalance might be epic, might be insane, and kind of make up for not getting any recognition in the past one. So Pathfinders out there, you're kind of a winner, not from this patch, but kind of looking forward. If you stick with it, I believe that you guys are going to be huge winners. You guys are going to perform really well in Korean Maple Story, like Korean Maple Story, and I think that next rebalance is going to be for you guys. Kind of stick with it. Kind of see that silver lining and not getting any buffs this patch. But then kind of my top five, and no really apparent, no real order. Kind of just start off with Bishop. I think the Bishops just simple. Their AR got 10% speed increase, so their attack is 10% faster. Doesn't seem like a big deal. You can look at it as they're doing 10% more damage, just straight off the bat, just from that. But it's more than that, right? It just allows them to toggle between, AR and, support and DPS mode faster. They reduce that cooldown of AR to 0.5 seconds again. So it's pretty fast, allowing them kind of dispel or to go use their holy water, I think it was called, just to play their class, have it a little more fluid. But it seems like they're just trying to trend in the right direction for Bishops to be just strictly DPS. And I've seen, like I mentioned in my previous podcast, Pandemonium had a Bishops up there. I've seen some in our server hitting in the 50, mid to high 50s in Lotus as well. I'm sure their their covert scores are really strong. Their guild dungeons, they have pretty good bursts as well. I think Bishops seem like a pretty good bossing class. Obviously, their support is very needed in Arc and in Lotus as well for the reses. We'll talk about a little bit in Damien. I think they still have a place there. Maybe not as vital as in previous bosses, but definitely they may be just there for the DPS. If you're a good Bishop player with good gear, I think you guys would do just fine in Damien. Seem to be doing really well in most content as well. So Bishop's definitely got a big boost. just allowing them, you know, just to kind of have hope that things are going to be pointing in the right direction. I think that their IED percent buffs are pretty nice compared to other classes. They got a lot of 12, 15%. So I think that they are, they got a good buff. I've definitely put them in my top five. Number two, again, not in any specific order, just kind of classes I was thinking about and jotting down was Ice Lightning Mages. Another Explorer Mage that got a big buff. Like I said, you know, compared to the Cream Maple Story mobile, I think their lines are kind of comparing to what they expected. They're very good in that game in KMSM. So it seems like now their long-awaited rebalances, continuously getting from Explorer Remaster to these last few rebalances, they're becoming top tier. And I think the top DPS in our server right now is Ice Lightning Mage. Like I mentioned, he has the best gear, doing the best damage. I've seen Truffle Locks. He's probably, you can see his YouTube. He kills it in Arc, Guild Dungeon, Guild Honor Battle, Lotus as well. So Ice Lightning Mages, again, like I talked about Pathfinders, it's waited out. If you've stayed with it, stuck with it, you guys are definitely getting rewarded. And now's your guys' time to shine. You guys are definitely cranking out damage. And Covert apparently as well. Something happened with their ignore enemy defense, whatever it is. Their numbers are insane as well. They got a big boost. So in Covert and their burst, their single 60-second burst, their everything just feels really strong. Arguably the top mage in the game. Hard to argue. We definitely see it on our end in our server. Yeah, definitely Ice Lightning Mages feel nice. Very nice right now. Well deserved. And then kind of the top warrior, I think, was the Kaiser. Not a lot of representation again, but their lines are coming up as well. Things are kind of stacking up nicely with what they had in Korean Maple Story. Again, I keep repeating myself, but this is something that we've, you know, the community has talked about. Why are the lines not translating from Korean Maple Story to global? Whereas global trying to create a completely different game? What was their plan? A lot of things were off, right? When it came to crit res, or it came to gearing system, it came to lines and skill percents. It was just not consistent across the board. So we had really nothing to go off of. But now it seems like things are sort of falling into place, whether it's this rebound or the next one or the following one after that. It seems like there's a copy and paste method that they're finally applying, and they're slowly kind of making their way to using that as the roadmap for our game as well. So Kaisers are pretty strong in that game, and their lines across the board just feels really, really nice. Their V1, their ignoring me defense as well has high skill percentage, and just their Giga Wave and their, you know, their main skills are got a big boost in damage. So happy for the Kaiser players out there. I know a lot of them re-rolled to, what was it, Dawn Warrior or Heroes. You stuck with it. You love that class. Pretty awesome looking class, fun class with a teleport and just the transformation. Just happy for you guys as well. Just getting your time to shine. You guys really stuck out through a tough time when all the other sword 200 sword user classes were looking really, really good. And then number 4, I would have to say Phantom. Phantom, like I mentioned, they just got to completely revamp. And I think that may take them some time to get their rotations down. Probably some of them already do, but it just feels like they're in a really fun place. It's a lot of options. Not too many classes like get to, you know, no classes really get to play with so many skills and options, test things out based on what content you're doing, based on your skill cap, based on this and that, DPS, survivability, support, whatever it is, kind of the combination of any of those. It feels like Phantoms are just playing. If you really enjoy kind of skill capping your class, having a lot of buttons to micromanage and great survivability, mobility, just feels like this class is for you. You can really take advantage of these stolen options, really to help yourself out to DPS or just to help the team out in general. Bringing party buffs, bringing things like that to, you know, do whatever it takes to clear a boss to help your team, right? Do more damage. Even Guild Dungeon, Guild Honor Battle feels like their scores are getting up there. Covert, obviously, Mulong, they're top tier. their burst is pretty good, and now their consistent damage feels, they're not just a consistent damage dealing class. Um, they sort of have peaks a little bit. So that definitely feels nice. Feels you know, I think Phantom community was hoping for more lines to Millie. Crazy. 2 lines to Millie just feels like, that's like 6 to 8 lines for any other class, how fast that attack um, hits. They lost the speed to Arrow Platter, kind of a trade off a bit. But then they got, Tempest buffs. They're ignoring defense. They're taking a new skill, Bleed Dart, if they want to, choosing it over Synchro, allowing them to time leap as kind of just a normal standard, not having to swap it out. Just interesting, right? Even our Phantoms in our Damien runs and Lotus runs, they take res right off the bat, and they don't really lose too much. Still top of the meter, still doing really well. They don't have to swap mid fight. Just allowing themselves to be that support and DPS roles that they had to choose for such a long time. They had such a big drop off when they switched to res or time leap. Now across the board, they're just performing really well regardless. And arguably, Phantoms are the one class that can really do it all. And I would say if there's any class that you want a lot of in your runs, it's definitely Phantom. Definitely Phantom. We're using two Phantoms, a Bishop and a Buccaneer, and it just feels like it's just nice to have. Nice to have. So yeah, Phantoms class is really nice. It's always been, but now their gameplay, their situation is pretty sweet. So it's a big chunk of the community for sure. So well deserved, kind of, and excited to see you guys kind of keep doing your thing in all the bossing. And the last class that I thought of, definitely talked about a lot right off the bat and knew they were going to be huge DPSers, and the charts show is the Buccaneer. Long time at the bottom, kind of stuck with Kaisers, the Pathfinders, Demon Avengers, Angelic Busters, whatever battle mages. Buccaneers they were very underwhelming before. They had no burst. Their consistent damage was lacking, and they totally got revamped. Their gameplay changed. Their skills really got reworked, and now they got big peaks. They got huge lines in a short amount of time, kind of a little bit longer cooldowns. I think it's not it's different, right? It kind of reminds me of honestly Righteous Hammers, the Paladins, right? Kind of a big burst of our hammers, their serpent. It just feels like they have more control over their damage, little skill cap to it, micromanaging skills, when to time it with their burst, with everyone else's burst split, DS4, things like that, just allows for maximizing your class. And it's showing in the DPS charts, and they are really jumping up in the rankings, continuing to show. And it's, again, all these classes that just stuck with their classes, love their classes for the play style and the gameplay, are really getting rewarded, right? I know people that switch to Shades or switch reroll to Arc from Buccaneer. You stayed Buccaneer, feels nice, right? At least you can see you're competitive, and that's well deserved as well. I'm just happy for those classes that really stick it out, right? They called him meta chasers. They constantly changing, like it was Paladins, Phantoms, it was dual blades, blasters, whatever it is, Dawn Warriors back in the day. You know, it's nice to see those people that kind of stick with it. Their classes that they love are getting rewarded, and that's just nice to see that the game is kind of rewarding them for doing that. And then May update done, coming through. June's already coming up, right? And what, today is Tuesday, May 30th. What, a week and a half, 2 weeks? So probably next week we're going to see some sort of teaser. Praying for DPS tracker. Mentioned it a million times. Hoping that's the case. That would be awesome, right? That would kind of just make the patch right there. I've heard things about cap increase, finding ways to add more HP stats. I'm just curious what route they take. If they even make this a big update or have anything that is an impact, what their plan is, because we haven't had any cap increase, raw cap increase for a while. Doesn't mean we're going to get it now, but if they're again trying to push people to do more content and game bossing, whether it's not just Damien, Lotus, Hard Magnus, uh, Arc, um, you know, Cap always helps on top of his rebounds. So I'm interested to see if they even give us anything there. Again, can't be too hopeful. Probably got you guys excited right now just talking about it. Um, but that's just something that I've heard. I don't know if it's going to happen. Probably can't expect anything at this point. So I'm excited to see, but I do know that if June's not big, I mean, the quick turnaround for the anniversary last year was on July 5th. So expecting that. And then, of course, the annual month one, probably with the class update then. Anniversaries are always going to have big events, probably a ton of packages, things like that. New class. I think it's going to be Adele, obviously V3. We'll see. Excited. That kind of just leads me into that last point of talking about Damien, right? How our progress has been going. If you've been following kind of our progress, just trying to share our runs, our learnings, kind of our testing with the community on YouTube. So just breaking down our runs, because right now the game is kind of stale. People are quitting. People are bored. People aren't even trying Damien. Lotus is obviously only once a week. Arc is already ho hum. People are soloing Arc right now, which is insane. Yeah, I'm curious if solo Arc comes out in June. That is something long overdue as well. That may be coming out, kind of just create new content for people. I'm curious if that comes out, that'd be pretty sweet. Get the people excited before V3 and anniversary. But back to Damien, I just have so much fun. I mean, I've been around, not that, I've been serious about the game. Came back this last time when Arc came out. I came back kind of V1. Really, I came back, quit here and there multiple times from the start of the game. So seriously, came back after V1, probably at the end of the year with a 2001. Yeah, 2001. My Demon Slayer. Arc came out the following, the end of the year as well. We didn't really clear it till start of 2022. So last year, I ended up playing my Demon Slayer, and my Paladin was kind of my alt at the time. But we really went through in Arc. We didn't really test as much. We kind of just waited. We didn't really lead the charge. We waited for Asia to really give us the answer to the test, and we really just had to execute and practice and DPS and things like that. And we kind of got it down pretty quickly, especially since an Arc was a daily run anyways, so it felt like it couldn't be as challenging as Lotus or Damien. Right? These are just once a week runs, so understandably it's much more challenging. But Arc was, once we kind of got used to the rotation and things like that, it really became fluid. I remember we would one run get just under 10 minutes, just clearing barely, right? The last 10 seconds. And the next day we'd shave off 30 seconds of that. The next day it'd be, people were doing sub 9 minutes and things like that. So it really picked up quickly. Once you kind of got that first clear, things became a lot smoother. Just every day after that with each rep. And so Arc kind of got, redundant. After you start to get so much gear, HP and things like that, you learned what you could survive and tank and kind of maximize DPS. So Arc just being a daily run was, different. It was different. And then Lotus came around. Again, Asia was one step ahead of us in NA, just because, we just didn't really attempt it. We ran, of course. We tried to, even before V2 came out, right? We tried to run consistently like we're doing now, knowing we weren't going to be able to clear, but phase one was obviously the hardest part. Getting through phase one took time and mechanics and practice and reps, and it's something you really couldn't experience on your own, because you couldn't go in on the fight and really practice the fast lasers, the bombs and combination, because you would just get overwhelmed very, very quickly. So Lotus was kind of a different animal. There's not really much to it. It wasn't like Hard Arc or Hard Magnus or Damien now, where there's a set skill rotation that you kind of needed to memorize in order to predict and anticipate what was coming next. It was really just you, your team, you and yourself, you and the lasers, you and the bombs, just surviving, maximizing DPS. There's not really anything like as a team lead, or like someone that was really invested in trying to help the team out, there's not much I could say, right? It's kind of just you got to you got to learn and watch back and learn how to survive lasers, use your teleports, use your iframes, things like that. Learn how to use platforms. You learn how to use Hero's Will, Will of Urda, Blink skill if you use it. Everything in your toolkit, you had to figure it out. You versus the lasers and maximizing DPS, things like that. So it was a totally different animal. Once we got through phase one, V2 came around, everyone was starting to clear. Took us a little bit, but we got cleared. Once we got through phase one, phase two, and phase three were pretty straightforward, kind of just a DPS race, knowing that we had to get through phase one after a certain amount of time. And then that just became a weekly grind just for fun, face masks for the primo chances, and then eventually coins, right? But Lotus we weren't as at the forefront of it. But now for Damien, it feels like hearing what I've heard about at Asia, they're kind of just starting to get into it. And they're starting to, practice more. There's a lot of people quitting on that side as well, kind of burning out from Absol Labs or whatever it is. And they're just not having enough top tier teams that are willing to invest in practice, knowing that we're kind of a ways away from clearing, right? The HP pool for Damien is insane. It's about 4.5 trillion. So obviously kind of in a 10-minute fight, that's about 45 bill DPM from each player. And that doesn't seem like a lot, right? It seems like at first glance, it seems easy, right? Like we could clear that no problem, like based on Lotus charts, right? But Damien's different, right? There's a lot of iframes. You're probably only getting about maybe 45 seconds out of the 60 seconds a minute doing, actually having uptime with iframes and things like that. Coming in, he flies up, he dives. It's not as much, right? You pretty much have to be doing about 60 bill DPM in Lotus across the board to be doing 45 bill DPM at Damien. Kind of just thinking it through because of all the iframes, because of the cutscenes, things like that, because of the mechanics of the run. And what I just love about it is even though we're not close, right? Even though we're clearing phase one, phase two is a whole different beast. There's a few things that I love. One, I love that it kind of changes the game where a lot of the bosses previously were very on the horizontal plane, right? Very linear, right? You just kind of have to dodge, dash back and forth, left and right. As expected, it's kind of just a mobile game, right? A PC game, a two-dimensional game where you're really just going left and right, standing behind the boss, in front of the boss, kind of dodging skills that come up on the ground or balls that come down like hard magnets, right? Maybe in hard magnets a little bit, you would up jump to avoid a spin or a dash. Arc, you're never going up, right? You're just standing still at this point, where you just stand and tank damage or whatever, reposition to dodge lightnings or to dodge the front attacks by standing behind of it. And then Lotus was kind of the intro to that, right? It was so funny to see how challenging like attacking and taking ladders was at first, right? It sounds so simple, but it's so hard. And like the room for error, if you don't know how to take a ladder properly and do damage, and take teleports across, you would die. You would die to lasers, right? And just it's so funny how like something so simple became so challenging, right? It was the most challenging part, mechanic that we've had to encounter in a long time. You really shows, some classes shined more than others. Some players shine more than others. So it was just very interesting, that gameplay. And then Lotus Damien kind of takes it up a tier above, in my opinion. And if you watched our videos, if you've seen Damien played PC, it's a little different. PC is a little different, I heard. But basically what we do, we're actually utilizing our blink skills so much, right? That horizontal plane is just one factor, but there's that linear, that vertical plane, that flying up with blink, up jumping, kind of all these factors, whether you fly for your own class skills, things like that. There's an upper limit to some skills that you can dodge and survive one shots. Rotted area, black smoke. We fly up for the popcorn meteor skills. There's just so many aspects of the game mechanically that you can unlock and that you can take advantage of if you use that vertical plane, right? And something you just don't see and that just kind of just up jump isn't necessarily always enough. You have to go a little bit higher, which is funny. You kind of have to up jump into a blink fly. to get high enough to avoid some skills. So it's just interesting, right? It's just a new thing. Again, we're just trying to, when it comes to Lotus, taking the ladders and teleports to now this, it just takes time to adjust, right? It takes time to get used to um doing that, looking from a different perspective. And I think it's just, again, it's not something you can really tell someone what to do. I can't tell them to do this and do that. It's kind of all reactive. It kind of just comes from muscle memory, just through reps and experience. And that's kind of what we're practicing right now. Every single new person that comes in our team, or is kind of experiences for the first time, maybe never has used Blink before. Maybe he's never even thought about up jumping or using their fly up skills to avoid things. Never even looked from that perspective, right? So it's funny, right? And you have to react on the fly, or you're going to get one shot, you're going to die. And so it's it's definitely a new challenge. It's definitely a lot of fun. I'm constantly just like learning new ways, testing new things. I'm going in and kind of testing out, the limits, and kind of sharing it as much as I can with my team, and hopefully kind of apply it to gameplay to help us, do better, perform better. Um, and hopefully share with the rest of the community to help them do better, play better, clear bosses, right? And that's kind of just one aspect. And the second one is the blink, right? This skill is kind of a game changer for Damien. It's really, really, it's universal. One, for every person can craft it. It's on a 15-second cooldown, and it's so versatile. Um, we tried it for Lotus. If you've used it for phase one, it's not, it's kind of clunky. It's not that effective. But in Damien, that's its time to shine, because one, it's on a 15-second cooldown, and you can either use it if you tap on it while you're on the ground, you're gonna blink to the boss. And it's got a pretty far range, about maybe half the map. So you can, if you get lost or whatever what it is, you're not on top of the boss, you're trying to DPS, you're trying to cross like a rotted or a certain skill, you can blink, 15-second cooldown, you're back on top, right? Doing damage, repositioned. But also, if you jump up, or if you up jump and you're in the air and you press down that blink skill and hold it down, you can fly. You can fly up. You can control it while you're in the air for quite a bit of time too. It feels like 5+ seconds. So it's really, it's really unlocking that skill. Knowing how to master it, knowing how to use it for you to your advantage is really um really crucial for this run. We use it all the time. We deliberately use skills, use blink to reposition the boss. You'll see it in our runs. Um, there's just a dive skill that if you're on the ground and it targets you, you're going to get one shotted, right? So we have to literally fly up, and flying up allows us to dodge a skill, but it also allows us to control where he's diving, right? It allows us to control, reposition the boss and Damien. So it's a very unique skill that we all have, gotten used to, practiced with, getting comfortable with, and using it to our advantage to clear the boss, right? Korean Maple Story has done it. We learn from them, and we're trying to apply it here. And the gameplay is a little bit different, right? It's such, since it's on a 15-second cooldown, that may seem long to some people, but that's really not. It's you can use it quite a bit. You can be aggressive with it if you want to, and still have it up available for another skill. You can use it to survive if you don't have iframes up, to fly up and avoid skills. It's pretty it's sweet. It has a lot of options. You just play around with it in hard magnets. You can play around with Lotus, things like that. So definitely um, game changer skill that I think is pretty going to be interesting to use. Like what you're gonna have to sacrifice when V3 comes out. All of these skills that we're gonna get, trios we're gonna get, should be interesting to see, because that's going to be an essential skill to use in Damien and probably moving forward. And then the last thing that, there's quite a bit of things actually. Damien, I just love it, kind of thinking off the top of my head. It just has a combination of everything, right? Things coming up from the ground, detonating, flying up, iframes, just things, you can't just look on left to right. You have to look up. You have to look, there's a look up in the screen. It could be anywhere, right? There's a lot of things to be paying attention to. Um, we were talking about just how, in phase 2 or phase 1 too, there's branding, right? A completely new skill, that, a mechanic that is crucial, right? Probably the most important um, factor to clearing. Um, Branding specific to Damien. Basically, we need 5 people to clear um, clear a black altar, stand on it, basically, not take any damage, can't use iframes. It's unique, right? And it's fun, right? It takes a lot of coordination. And Damien, like, we're struggling right now. Well, we're learning, right? We're learning about so many different things. There's the skill rotation, right? So my job is to call out skills, right? Memorize the skills, know what's coming up, and kind of know when we can maximize damage, how to reposition the boss based, to get him into situations where we can maximize damage, do DPS. Um, also as the aggro, a lot of the times, I can control which way he's dashing, things like that. So there's that responsibility, and that's DPS, doing DPS, facing the boss the right way, to save the team, to help everyone do damage, and to do callouts, right? So people know what's coming, right? Can preemptively position themselves if they have to, use iframes if they have to, things like that. So my role is just, all those things. But then that's just not enough. Right, in phase one, that's enough. But then in phase two, there's also the branding, like we talked about, right? And there's also a blue orb, which is a huge damage reduction. Or, we do a significant amount, it says, of damage if you're near the blue orb. So the blue orb follows a certain player, and if that orb is brought to the party, the team, you're just going to do no damage, basically, a shell of yourself. So there's basically 3 things that we have to micromanage in phase 2, and that's completely different than anything we've ever had to do before, right? So we have my callouts of skills, knowing when, because there's a lot of one-shot skills, there's a lot of fly-up skills, there's a lot of, the dash is our biggest one, right? That wipes out the entire team, one shots them, and moves the boss. So there's that. There's someone calling out branding when the black altar is coming, because we have designated people, 5 people designated to run out there and clear that branding, because branding stacks is basically what's going to overwhelm us with what we call rotted, the swords that are on the ground that detonate. We basically can't have that happen, right? And in phase 2, it happens a lot quicker than phase 1. So we have someone calling out that, and then we have someone calling out blue orbs, because that rotates, like I mentioned, it rotates very quickly between players. So it could be me, and then the next 5 seconds it could be someone else. And then as you get deeper into the fight, more blue orbs come out. I think it ends up being at 75%, 50, and 25. So 4 orbs come out by the end of the fight. So we're going to have 4 people constantly changing the orbs, moving it out of the team. So they're sacrificing DPS as it is, to help everyone else do DPS. And there's 4 of them, and it's constantly revolving. So we have to have so many different things going on that it takes time. It takes reps. It's not something you can just hope for V3 to come around that you're just going to get just like that, right? If it's not about DPS only, it's mainly mechanics. There's so many factors to it, and it's just I'm so happy that we have people, a good chunk of people that are willing to just practice and learn and understand that we're not clearing. They're using their buffs, they're using their time and energy, and they're stressing themselves out. And I'm hard on them, and we're constantly just like trying to learn and get them to pick up things on the fly quickly, right? And I appreciate all of them, because I know a lot of servers don't have that luxury. Some people are just trying to find 10 people while we have 17 strong. We have fillers that are wanting to play. So really excited about that. Really happy that we have a good bunch of people, appreciative of them. And I'm excited to kind of share our progress with you guys, and just thinking about it again. Man, it's phase 2 is going to be fun. Like when we finally get it, it's going to be such a huge accomplishment. It's one of those unique things that, like, when I did hard Magnus, right, it was just a set rotation, right? I could do it, position the boss the way I wanted to do it. It was solo. So it was very, once I got the hang of it, I could play any class, right? I could do do the run on anyone. It's kind of muscle memory, the skill rotation, and just, it was repetitive. Damien in phase two, we could do all of those things right? We could have callouts on point for Black Altar, for blue orbs, everyone rotating, keeping that blue orb out of the team to maximize DPS. We could have callouts on point. And he could just Damien could just still F us. He could still teleport to you know to a random person in the middle, right? He could dive to someone in the middle who has a blue orb, right? He could dive right on top of the people that are doing the Black Altar and kill all of them, right? And one random, unfortunate teleport or dive throws everything off. That's something we learned, right? Like we're trying to position him in the corner so that he doesn't dash towards the middle and wipe everyone out, one shot them. So we're so focused on that. And then as we get that down, we realize we have a spot we can put him. He teleports to the middle and then he dashes. Or he dashes and he teleports to the middle again, or he dives to someone in the middle, which in our phase is one person, right? 9 people are in the corner and one person is out in the middle with the blue orb and he dives to that person. So the odds are in our favor and we get all thrown off, right? Everything kind of goes to shit once we, things aren't going according to plan, right? We can do everything right. Someone moving the orb out of the middle, everyone positioned in the corner, flying up to avoid the dive. He still goes to that 1 out of 10 person, one out of 10 chance, right? And then we're wasting a lot of time trying to reposition him, get him away from the blue orb, and get him to dash away from the rest of the team. It's just so much fun. And so much of the details goes into just recording runs and watching it back, trying to pick up any little thing because Korean Maple Story does it, but they all do it a little bit differently, right? And they don't really break it down that much. They kind of just show they cleared it, right? So we're trying to pick up on little nuances and tips and tricks and things that they do without them directly telling it to us, right? So we're going based off of we have no one else to do it, and that we're just kind of on our own. Theory crafting, talking about testing things that we see from our point of view that maybe someone sees that I didn't see. So it's just kind of nerdy, right? It's kind of but if you ever play a game kind of at any level, right, and you're kind of just trying something new for the first time, it's just kind of nothing like it. It's fun, and I've never done this before in any other game. Even this boss, even previous bosses, we weren't really at the forefront. We obviously don't have the best gear. I guarantee you some other Asia team is going to grind really hard and clear obviously before us, which is not the goal, right? It's just to kind of say we had the fun in the process, right? And kind of do it with friends that were there along the way, right? We could have the best, I would say we could have the best 10 DPSers, best biggest whales in our server do it faster, in less time, more productively, but that's not what it's really about, right? It's kind of just about playing with your friends and people that you go through the grind with, that you've done it before with, that are going to be there, you know, that it works, that's going to work eventually, and excited to kind of just see just the progress, just having fun with it. I really just wanted to talk about Damien, just kind of let it out there. I've been talking to, that's kind of been the hot topic within our circle of friends on the game for a long time. I just hope people start trying, right? Like there's nothing to lose, right? It's like we use one set of buffs on Monday and then on Thursday after Lotus runs. So it's not a lot, right? It's not super taxing on your resources, your buffs, your time. It's like half an hour a week if we combine the 2 runs. And so, then you get data to look back on, things you can improve on, DPS wise, team wise, strategy wise. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, whatever it is. I'm excited. If you guys have anything you want me to talk about, if you are tired of Damien talk, tired of Damien videos, I can post covert strategies. I can talk about anything. I know someone asked about hyperstats and things like that. I have a video out for that as well. on for paladins and things like that. But if you want me to go into bigger detail, I'm always greater detail. I'm always down to kind of share my thoughts. Comment below on the YouTube channel, and then I'll answer them in comments, and then I'll um, kind of share them in the podcast as well. So definitely keep those questions coming. Um, Thank you for listening. I appreciate all the support. Excited for more Damien runs this week, um, more content. Excited for June update. Excited for July. It's coming up fast. It's coming up fast. Um, Thank you guys again. I'll see you guys next time.